How has podcasting impacted your visibility, growth, connections, good or bad?
I just kind of fell into podcasting.
Okay.
I went to a photography studio, or what I thought was a photography studio, and I looked around and I asked the photographer, wait, is this a podcast studio too? And he said, yes. He's like, actually, I think you'd be really, really good at podcasts. I felt like I was also going through a transition phase where I wanted to have a voice. I feel like I do have a voice.
How would you describe a personal brand that's luxury, or what could someone bring into their brand in that way?
Personal brand, I think it's a cohesive theme, like really sort of hone in on what are you trying to exemplify? What do you want to show people when you walk in the door? What's their first impression?
Welcome back to the Kelly Lumber podcast. In this episode, I'm joined by Isabella, who I met a few months ago back in Dubai. We've kept in touch, and I just love that her content and learning about building a personal brand and business in luxury. So in luxury when it comes to hospitality, luxury in real estate, and luxury personal branding. We talk about content creation, what it takes to stand out, what she's bringing from the US to the UAE. Let's dive in. Isabella, it's great to have you here on the Kelly Lumber podcast.
Hello, I'm so excited.
And welcome back to Dubai.
I know. Yes.
What's this, your second, third trip you've been here?
Fourth time.
Very good.
And today is day 2. So jet lag is still, it's hitting me hard. But,
well, you look utterly fabulous. If this is jet lag hitting you hard, then I'm not sure what otherwise it would look like. Tell us a little bit about, who you are, and then maybe what brought you to the UAE.
Okay, yes. So I definitely have a fascination with the UAE. I feel like I should have been here earlier, right? I'm one of those like late bloomers to this part of the world. I was born in the U.S., born in South Florida, raised in the Bahamas, come from a traveling family, traveled all over the world. My business started as a digital marketing company for luxury travel brands. I would say more so COVID. When COVID happened, I realized that I couldn't completely rely on travel for my main source of income. So that's when I sort of ventured into lifestyle.
Yeah.
So travel's still my number one passion, but more of a lifestyle brand and working with lifestyle brands. And I've always heard of the UAE and Dubai and this area in Qatar. And I think that with the companies, the hotels I used to work with, I just always somehow was drawn more to Asia. So I've been to many countries in Asia. And the last couple of years, I said, you know what, I keep hearing about Dubai. I'm going to go to Dubai. And then that was it. I was hooked. I came here. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I see why. And it's actually very similar to Miami, I would say.
And a lot of people have said that. And having been to Miami, I could see why with the infrastructure and the way they build it. But I do think having had a week on my own there and tried to network and meet people, I didn't find it as friendly as here. What's your take on doing it the other way around?
Oh my gosh, you have hit the nail on the head. That's something that I've learned actually the last time I was here, was that networking is so much easier. Doors are opened so much easier here. Yes, we have a lot of expats to South Florida, but I feel like it's a little bit more of a shut door environment. Can't really put my finger on it, but also someone had told me the last time I was here is that you accelerate a lot faster than if you were back home. So whatever industry it is that you're in, being here, the doors are opened more. People are willing to listen to you. They want to hear you out or at least give you a chance.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that here.
It's that space, because I remember being in this bar and thinking, well, surely if you just try and make conversation with, and it just wasn't like that in that way. But what are some of the things that you've done when you go to a new city to build your network?
First thing is I do my research before I get there. So I start, and Instagram's that's what I'm most comfortable with. So I reach out I kind of scope out someone's profile, like, okay, do we seem aligned? Do I like their content? Is there something I feel like could be mutually beneficial between, potential partnership? And then I reach out and I see, am I afraid of rejection? No. So I try anyway. Hey, would you like to meet up? Let's grab a coffee or a drink or what have you. First, just blindly reaching out to someone.
Yeah.
The other thing is looking for networking events. And that's actually how we met.
Yeah.
Was at the podcast.
Yeah, a podcasting event.
Which was amazing. You were speaking that night and I'm like, I sat in the front like a kid with like
you were so
I'm like, me, pick me.
But look where that's come from. You didn't know about who I was before then. You met me at that event.
Yes.
Then we've developed a relationship through
We've kept in
Instagram.
contact. Yeah.
And then now we're here on the podcast and you sharing your
now
brand
look at
journey.
us.
Yeah, exactly. TV show, here we come.
I love it. You never know. You never know.
Absolutely. So I'm curious on this branding perspective. So you've been building your brand and building a business.
Yes.
When did you realize that your brand was separate from your business?
Actually, I don't think it's separate.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the things that I'm drawn to your niche also, because your thing is that you push personal brands.
Very much so, yeah.
So I feel like, yes, you need to have a professional brand, but also your personal brand on a daily basis, that's key. Because a lot of the times when I've met persons that we've become friends or partners or whatever the case may be, I met them in circumstances that I wasn't prepared for. So for me, personal branding, it's huge. I think how you present yourself, how well you speak, what is it you're trying to say, what's the message? I think that's also important. So for me, I actually don't really
see them as two separate things.
They're not two separate things. Like the Isabella brand is a luxury lifestyle brand. And I do live that. It's not something that I'm projecting.
Yeah.
For me, luxury just isn't material things. It's also, quality and taking my time with things and sustainability. Like there's a lot of that goes into luxury that I feel like I incorporate in my daily life that also I incorporate in business. So when I used to work with luxury hotels, I mean, that's just something that so my dad owned a small hotel in the Bahamas. So being in the travel and luxury hospitality world, I've always looked at hotels differently. As soon as I walk in a door, I'm like, okay, like one of my things do they have a robe? Are there slippers? Like there's just certain, where are the outlets? Or here, which I love, is that some already have adapters, like little things like that where I don't need to bring the adapter. But anyway, back to branding. Yeah, I don't think that they're separate. I think that it's key. I think.
How would someone bring then luxury into their brand? You mentioned a few nice detail points there, that it's not necessarily the material things. Mm-hmm. How would you describe a personal brand that's luxury, or what could someone bring into their brand in that way?
Okay, I would say in their personal brand.
Yeah.
Okay, so personal brand, I think it's a cohesive theme. Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing. I think it really sort of hone in on what are you trying to exemplify? What do you want to show people when you walk in the door? What's their first impression? For me, I would say, just vaguely, I actually was thinking about it, not knowing what you were going to ask me, but I'm like, she's probably going to ask me some branding questions. I'm like, what is my brand? So I would say it's feminine, modern, very direct, maybe sometimes a little maximalist. Mm-hmm. I can be a little bit maximalist. So I would say that cohesive. I think really figuring out what your style is. I think also timeless. So really finding if let's say it's wardrobe, finding pieces that are not so trendy, that you feel like you can mix and match, or use 5 years from now, 10 years from now, certain staple pieces. I think when it comes to correspondence, having the right signature block, font that's not so busy, like simple.
All the things that you're saying to me is I like to call them the details.
Yes.
And that's my book, is how to develop your personal brand and elevate your personal brand one pip at a time, de-seed the lemon, and all those little things. I think a lot of it comes through hospitality as well.
Right.
That you see luxury in hospitality in the way that they deliver, the way that they serve. Mm-hmm. It's the small things within the quality of the robe, the quality of the slippers. I think that makes a big difference. And those attributes, I think, can be brought into a personal brand
100%.
In the small way of when someone comes into contact with something that you do every single day.
Yes, 100%.
How does brand building differ here and in the US? Because I think in the US, everyone gets personal branding. And I still feel it's a bit of an education here. What's your thoughts?
Would you say, when you say that we get it more, people care more about the outside.
I think they understand the importance of being heard and seen, and yes,
Okay.
a combination of outside, maybe not necessarily in always like clothing choices, but just the visibility piece and understanding. I think that you have a personal brand.
Right.
That's my take on it anyway.
No, and I think that you have something there. I think it's a mix of blending sort of like the creativity and also whatever the industry it is that you're in. And I feel as though maybe, not to sound ignorant, but maybe we are like a step ahead in that sense. And it's going to catch on here in some time. I mean, I follow quite a few people in this vicinity, and I think that they're there, and they're definitely getting there. But yeah, you're onto something.
Yeah, there's an element of that too. So for you coming to the UAE, is this a permanent thing? Is it going to be in and out? What's your steps? And
my goal is to live here half time.
Nice.
100%.
Yeah.
I always thought it would be Bali, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I love Bali. I feel at home. Something that I've sort of reconciled with the other day. Bali is where I want to be to sort of feed my soul. I feel like that's where I've already made it. I've already checked off many of the boxes.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
So I'll visit there. Maybe I'll spend, a few weeks at a time. But Dubai is where you're still working on yourself. Like you're still progressing. And I feel like the energy here is sort of similar to New York, but not.
Yeah.
But in that way where it pushes you and you feel like, okay, everyone's doing something. I need to be doing something too. But then there's the Miami element where there's the vacation and the relax and the beach holidays. So that's why I like it here. Miami, I always feel like I'm on vacation. I don't have the same push when I'm home.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That Dubai has.
Yeah. I mean, all just looking out of the apartment window, they're building buildings, constructing buildings all hours of night.
Yeah.
Like that's not unheard of in Miami. It has to shut down at a certain time. So it's like the energy is always moving and I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So my goal is to be here halftime for sure.
How do you find it creating content always on the go? Because I think many people that are watching and listening find content creation overwhelming.
It is.
Yeah. What some tips have you got? Given
I give up. Yeah, it is.
What are some tips that you've got? I know that you brought someone with you today, but how can you help someone kind of navigate their steps in content creation to make it feel less overwhelmed?
So I would say at least pick one platform. Pick one platform and maybe make that your main. Or the other thing I like to do is sort of repurpose the content. So what you're going to put on Instagram, make sure you put that on TikTok. Or if you want to put the shorts on YouTube. So sort of do it like that so you're not creating 3 different pieces of content. Repurposing. When I go to certain places like here, I look for photographers, videographers, someone that can help me create content while I'm creating content. I think that helps as well. And it's a different point of view too. So it's not just me holding my phone and creating the sort of, selfie version, but then also an exterior point of view.
And I think having the support, do you do your own edits?
Right now, yes. So if I hire someone, then they'll help me with that. Yes. For the podcast, I have a content distribution team, Podster, actually.
Yeah.
So they're helping me with that. So I do outsource when necessary. I would say I'm a type A.5. So I'm definitely type A. I want to micromanage everything. But then there's some things where I'm like, F it. I don't want to deal with it. I get overwhelmed. I get a little lazy. So outsourcing helps as well.
Let's just kind of wrap up on that podcasting, because I think that was how we met. So we can bring it back full circle. How has podcasting impacted your visibility, growth, connections, good or bad?
Yes. So quick little background story. So I just kind of fell into podcasting.
Okay.
I was wearing this very blazer because I do reuse clothes. I went to do my headshots for my real estate portfolio. I went to a photography studio, or what I thought was a photography studio, and I looked around and I asked the photographer, wait, is this a podcast studio too? And this is in Miami, by the way. And he said, yes. He's like, actually, I think you'd be really, really good at podcasts. I was like, no, I've always been more of a video, put some music on it, or photos. I've never been the one to speak to the camera. And that scared the crap out of me. I felt like I was also going through a transition phase where I wanted to have a voice. I feel like I do have a voice, and I wanted to share a lot of the experiences, the things that I've learned along the way, trial and error. And he said, come by the studio and it'll just be a conversation. And so we had the conversation, and he said at the end of it, he's like, the cameras were rolling the entire time and you have to do a podcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that was your first time?
And that was it. And so from then I was hooked. And then I wanted to sort of, again, the world, bring in the world aspect. I filmed, I think it was 4 episodes in Miami. And I said, I just did not feel complete. I felt like I needed something else. And then that's when I started researching one of my late night, like scrolling, like best podcast studio in Dubai or something like that. And then that's how I found Podster. And the light bulb went off, and it felt like I had some sort of dream about it. I said, you know what? I'm going to film the rest of it in Dubai. And I just blindly came here, reached out to a few people, and again, one door opened after the other. And next thing you know, I have a show.
Love it. That is such great confirmation in one, following something, being open, first of all, to trying something. Then
and not being afraid.
Yeah. And then following up on that, and then going, okay, well, what have I got to lose? And then just actually seeing the power in taking your brand, which I think, given the travel background and the exposure you had from an early age, that your brand is global. And then not everything is possible, whether it's in Miami, whether it's in other places in the US. Let's do it in Dubai.
Right. Well, and what's interesting is that because the show is, we're unveiling each episode on I think it's a week and a half basis. You're going to see all of these different studios. And it's because I filmed half of it there and half here. And I just really wanted to I feel like we are a little bit closed-minded to a certain extent. And I wanted to bring a Middle East perspective to my podcast. Yeah. I feel like I wanted to show, I remember when I was here last time, I had friends asking me if I was okay and if I was safe and if do I have to
about
fully
Dubai?
Yes. I'm like, guys, come on. Like how far along are we at this point? But so I feel like I just want to kind of open up the Americans' minds to it's not what you think.
Yeah, very good. What's next for you then?
What's next? So I'm sort of tying in everything together, the travel, the hospitality, the content creation, and my business is going in the direction of life design. So me being a life designer. Nice. So being the go-to person with all of these different industries where people, they come to me for help. Yeah. They come to me, they have a certain amount of discretionary income. They want to outsource. Who do I go to for this or what have you? So sort of like a life coach, just on another level.
I love it. And what's the first step you're doing to make that happen? Have you got clients now?
I do have a few clients. Yes. Yeah. I'm actually helping them with just sort of like working on themselves. So I do have a life coach as well in Miami, and I'm working on myself too. I feel like I can't be the person to tell someone to do something if I haven't done it as well. Just some self-help.
Thank you so much. But I think a huge part of you becoming you is that constantly, obviously, learning who you are and learning from others and constantly investing in that, which is something that you're doing. So I wish you an amazing rest of a trip here in Dubai. I really want to speak longer.
I know.
But our time is running, and I know that you have other podcasts to do today, but thank you so much.
No,
it was brilliant.
You. Yes.
Loved it. And to get to know you a little bit more, because we've had this Instagram friendship. And now we can bring
we took it out of the chat.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.